All right. Yeah, hello guys. Good afternoon. Welcome to week 6 of today's class. Yeah, okay, you are the only one here. How are you? How is your weekend? How is Sunday? You're having a wonderful day.
I'm doing great. Uh, I have been okay. The past classes I haven't. I think the last weekend I haven't. I wasn't live, but I have been catching up with the recordings. Yeah, I'm just
Okay.
behind. I think I'll catch up. This is our final class, right?
Yes. Today is the
So,
final class, and I know it won't be easy, going going over those 3 hours long videos. Honestly, I know it won't be easy, like going through all of them. So I encourage you guys. I give you guys kudos for at least attempting to follow through. It's not easy. Honestly, it's not easy, right? Learning new skills, not to talk of a tech skill. I know you guys are most of you are developers already. All right. Yesterday we looked into Kafka, Apache Kafka, and we did some implementation, which we faced some issues, and I had to look into the issue. Let me share my screen. So I don't know. The issue wasn't actually an issue per se because after I just looked through everything, there was no bug. So the issue was just like our app didn't give Kafka enough time to start before trying to connect. And when it tries to connect and Kafka is not ready to connect, the consumer just stop. Like consumers are the ones that perform the task. So when our app starts and Kafka is not ready, it's not fully ready, and consumer tries to create topic and the rest, try to connect and create topic, and Kafka is not ready to just stop working. But the app will be working, right? But consumers will not run. So when we use producers and send jobs to the queue to the brokers, the consumers are not there to execute those tasks. That's why those upload we try to do we are not going through. So it was just a simple fix. I believe you're seeing my screen, right?
not yet.
I see my screen now.
Yeah, I can see. I can see.
Okay, good. So basically, what I did was just like allow our app some time, give it some time before it tries to connect to Kafka. And where did we put that configuration? We put it in this place function here. Um, Here where we started the server here, the server file. So at this place here, where when our app starts running, right, we try to connect to Kafka here. This is where we try to connect to Kafka. We said wait for Kafka. This is a function we wrote. So if Kafka is ready, we execute. If Kafka is not ready, we wait. But if it is ready, we get producer instance, we connect, and we start the consumer, right? So and this is inside a set timer. Set timers is just like we give it a function to run and we give it a time. So set timeout is supposed to wait for like 7 seconds before executing these functions here, right? So here in the yesterday's class it was 4, we gave it 4 seconds, so we the app has to wait 4 seconds, and during that time Kafka wasn't ready. So when it tries to connect, it didn't go through and the consumer will just not work, right? So here I change it to like 7 seconds, but 5 seconds is good, or 6 seconds, but to be safe I gave it 7 seconds. And so let's execute. I didn't change any other thing. If you look at our Kafka configuration, our Docker compose, everything is still as it is. Just for some, just minor thing, I just had to put here some environmental variable. this. Then what I didn't do anything. Let's go to the provider here, Kafka provider. We Everything is just as the same. I just had to remove some of the console logs on the consumer and the rest. So this is it. So I just added this thing here. Let me take this to back to 1000. So when this is done now, there's something I did here. I added the simulation, right? I added the simulation here on the consumer when we send a task to the Kafka and the consumer starts executing it. I add a delay here of 5 seconds to simulate. Maybe I told you guys that we can use Kafka for this for processes like the ETL process, that is the extract transform load process, where you have to build a server or an endpoint to get data from somewhere, from a source, and process each of those data. Processing each of those data may be like maybe fetching, calling extra another API to enrich that particular data, then executing it, storing it in your database. So basically, this is I'm just trying to simulate something like that. So when we fetch the data, you try to call that API to reach to enrich that data, and then store it in your database and everything. So I try to simulate that process here. Here you can also do a processing cleaning of the data before you insert your database. So I did that here. I just added it just for sake of simulation. Then at the same time, there's something here. This chunk size, I want to I well, we're going to demonstrate, but I will later change it to 1 here. So when I change, hello, Cliff, who is that? Okay, Kevin, please mute, right? Mute. My background is kind of noisy. So the chunk size here is 1. If I reduce chunk size here to 1, what it means is that we'll be processing every job one by one, right? One after the other. So we're going to see that in demonstration. But let's do our test yesterday. No, yesterday we created our consumers, our producers, and the rest, and we tried to test, but it didn't go through. But we are finally up and running. So let me start up our Docker services, our Docker containers, right? And we do that with Docker Compose -f to choose the Docker file we want to use. -f is to choose the Docker file we are going to run, which is this Docker Compose file. Docker compose.dev.yml. Then up. Then we'll give it hyphen here. -d. So -d means I don't want it should run in the background. I don't want the terminal to start console logging the process, the whole startup process. If I click enter, okay, so just tell us that it has created and started, then we'll turn back control to the terminal. Yeah, so our Docker is if we check our PS, our containers, running containers, we'll see. So our containers are running now. We have the Kafka, CP Kafka running as Kafka. We have the Zookeeper, and we have Redis. So everything is up. So you can just wait for some seconds before starting the app proper. Right, but I have here in my package JSON, I have a single command where we can start everything at once. Right, dev colon all, just start everything at once. So let me start the app. npm run dev, just this. I'm starting only the app here now. So the app will start and try to connect to Kafka. Then when it connects, we'll now test our API. So let's go back to our Postman and see the API we were trying to test. This is the API we were trying to test. It's create bulk news, right? So let's see if our app has started. App is still waiting to start. Still waiting for the app to start. Okay. Server is running on port 5000. The app has started, so it's now try to connect to Kafka. Okay, everything is connected. Yeah, we are good. So I had some background jobs when I was testing it. Let me stop. Let me remove the console log. So that's not. So one thing about Kafka is that when you give it a job to process, right, and you start processing it one after the other, for example, if your app goes down, if your app shuts down and you restart your app later, it's going to start processing. You know, let's start from there. So let's test this API. Or let's see if we're going to on our table on our date. Let's see if we have any job here. Okay, we have, but let me delete them. Let me truncate the database. So there's nothing on the database now. If we check again, it's empty. So let's test. So if we come here, try it now. Right, successful message. Let's see if we have any data. So initially it was empty array. Now let's see. Now we can see the data. Right, so everything was successful. Right, we are fetching just 20. There are many of them in database. If we fetch from 500 rows, so it's 500 data that was sent, that was populated. Right, so guys, that is it. That is the whole process of Kafka here. If I here, this is chunk size. I'm processing everything by 1000, like I'm using chunk size. But if I want to do that one by one, maybe you want to start process, you want to process each of those data, like to clean them, to enrich them, right? We use chunk size of 1, right? And like I said, this delay here is just to simulate API call. Maybe you are calling an API to enrich the data, or you are processing the data here to clean it, doing some processing job. So with chunk size of 1, then we'll now try and see how it's going to work. But the main point is that when this API, the way you implement this API is that you don't, like, there's, if you use conventional way to implement this API, you take, when they send the when they call the API, you start looping through, like you do use for loop to loop through the each of the data that was being sent. It's going to cause a problem because the API, the response will not return until it loops through the whole endpoint, the whole data that you sent. Like when you click send, right, you see loading, like it will just be telling you to wait till each of those data are being looped one after the other and processed. So that is not an optimized way of creating such APIs this way to handle bulk processes. Right, you use systems like RabbitMQ of Kafka to process batch data like that, and you just take the whole information and you queue them, put them in the process, queue them in the process so that they will start processing them, each of them. They start processing each of those data. So basically, this is what I'm saying here. If we come to this our API, let's come to our route. Sorry. So this API here, this bulk, some people will implement it some in a way that, yeah, when they receive this data, right, they will do a for loop, or yeah, they will do a for loop and start processing it. So it doesn't make sense. Or even here, they will put the implementation here. They will do something like, let me just even demonstrate it here. All right. Let me do data dot map. I want to map through the whole. Let me just console log. Right. If I do something like this, maybe this is just to simulate processing, for example. Right. Let me. So basically, what I'm trying to do is to um, show us the importance of um, Kafka, right? Let me just put any value. Why Kafka is important, or why any messaging queue is used. So if I have something like this now, for example, right? Just to console log. Now I'm looping through each of the data and I'm processing them one after the other. This is not an efficient way of processing an API, of creating an API, right? It's not the best way. It's not the genuine way. It's not the optimized way. So let's wait. Okay, our app is started. So if I run this code now again, actually we are not saving anything to database. I just want to show us how it's going to be processed. If I call this endpoint again, you see it's delaying because it is looping through the 500 records, right? It has looped through. It had to loop through. Now, why it's returned even earlier than like the way I expected. I expected it to count to 500 more. Is because we are not doing anything. We are just console logging, right? If you are storing to database, if you are doing any tags that we take time, it's going to take longer time for the request to return because you are storing to database, or probably you're calling to another API. So it's going to take longer time. Before the 500 jobs will be completed. Right, let me call this delay function here to simulate, and let me give it like 2 seconds. Let me give it 2 seconds delay. Yeah. Let me give it 2 seconds delay. Going to see what I'm trying to explain here. Alright, we're good. So let's observe now. Okay. Starting up. So this is basically what I'm saying here. It's going to take time to process that 500 record. Now take for instance where you are processing like 1,000 record, 10,000, hundreds, thousands of records. So it's going to that API, whoever is calling that API is going to the process is going to take a long time for the request to return a response. So basically, what you do here, you use a queuing system like Kafka, and you enqueue the process, and you have an optimized API. Sorry. So guys, that's the whole thing about Kafka. I'm please, this is not the only usefulness of Kafka. Kafka has a lot of usefulness, so you can just browse about them, read up on how useful they are, right? How useful it is, what you can do with it. It is just an intro, right? This is the bare minimum, like the bare minimum of what you can do with Kafka, just the intro. So now, guys, let's look at NestJS, right? NestJS is one of the like, should I say, the most popular framework now in Node.js. If I do something like Node.js most popular framework, actually it should be Express NestJS. Okay, there's Express, there's Nest, there's Fastify, and the rest. So this is documentation for the doc for Node, NestJS. So we are going to just follow through with the documentation, and we're going to talk about some few things about the whole project. So this is how to start your Node.js, your NestJS application. First, you need the CLI, right? So we install it globally with npm in our system. That will start a project. This is the way to start a project. So, okay, let's start with. So let me click. Let me open my terminal.
I use.
Yeah,
I have a question.
yeah,
Regarding the installation.
yeah.
Instead of using npm, I think npm is kind of increasing the storage size all the time, all the time. Why can't we just use pnpm? It's
Yeah, you can use
more
PMPM.
okay.
Okay, but I don't have PMPM on my system now, right? So it's npm I have. So you can use PMPM. You can use Yarn.
I just noticed my space is kind of increasing since it's using npm. I'm doing all
Okay.
the installations that
Oh, you don't have npm on your system.
I have. I was using I tried using npm, but now since I noticed the space issue, I installed npm now.
Space issue. How does let me see, how does npm you know add extra? How does it reduce the space?
It reinstalled the packages all the time, the libraries all the time.
Oh, okay.
So it's like yeah, all the time you do the initial maybe the packages you had installed earlier. Now when you do it again it installs all the time.
On your project, on your what's it called, on your local project, in your local directory of a project, or how do you mean?
Yeah, yeah, my local director of the project.
Okay, instead of doing sim linking it to probably an older package in another project, or how do you mean? When you install a project, right, locally, it resides inside your project. When you install a package inside the project, it resides inside your project, right? So let's call this demo. Right, it's going to ask us the package to use. I'm going to use npm. Um, so it's installing. So it's going to create a folder with our project name. Then we just play around with some of the items here. So it's creating installation in progress. Yeah, well, actually, PMPM and Yarn, they are actually good because they are just like improvement from npm. One thing about this project that comes after other projects is that they look at that project, they look at the old project, whatever deficiency that old project has, they try to solve it. They try to solve some of the problems and bring out solution and create their own. So I believe most of the yarn npm is the first, yarn follows, then pnpm and some others. So I believe yarn also has the solution, some solution it solves on npm, and even pnpm also solve that. What's a project I use pnpm for is I use it for a turbo repo, monorepo. I use it for like it's a project, monorepo project that it actually is pnpm to work with. So I just use a pnpm on the project. Mostly I use yarn in my personal system. I use yarn, but this system I just decided to use npm. Okay, why this installation is taking time. So while we are installing, let's look at some concepts here that we're going to encounter in NestJS. So we have things like in NestJS we have things like modules, controllers, providers, middlewares, exceptions, filters, guards, and rest, right, and decorators. So these are the items that makes up, like you use to build your Nest application, right? Your Nest.js application. So I believe you guys are familiar with these terms here, right? From our Express project, you are familiar with these terms, and they are the same thing here, right? So we're going to see how we're going to do use them. So controllers, basically, just like the way we used it in our Express, what we defined as controllers. Controllers are responsible for handling incoming requests and sending responses back to the client. Basically, that is what we implemented in our ExpressJS, right? Now ExpressJS, yes. So see the importance of why I structured that ExpressJS project in this way, because it will help us to fully understand NestJS. And it's so because ExpressJS does not it's unopinionated. Like it doesn't have its own, you can use it as you like. That's ExpressJS. You can, it just gives you the server and the router and asks you to build your project how you like it, however you like it, right? That's ExpressJS for you. It's very free and everything. You can structure your code anyhow. But NestJS is not like that. NestJS is seriously opinionated, and it's what it does is that when you are using NestJS, it gives you the structure of the project and asks you and force you to use that structure that way, right? So that's NestJS for you, right? So now we controllers are responsible for incoming requests and everything. So in NestJS we do they use decorators heavily, and we're going to see how what it means to be what decorators are. They use decorators heavily on in NestJS. If you are coming from Spring Boot Java, you'll be very much familiar with NestJS. So let's read for further. A controller's purpose is to handle specific requests for the application, right? Yeah. The routing mechanism determines which controller will handle each request. So let's see if our project is fully installed. I think this is causing a problem here. I will stop it and install the packages myself. Okay, so come here to the project, open it in VS Code. Wow. Hello guys, hope you can still hear me. I don't know why my system, if why my system is hanging, it's lagging. Okay, so let's open it. Let's open our project. So then controllers, right? So this is the project here. So this is what it generated for us. It gave us a source folder, give us everything. The setup is in TypeScript, right? It's the default settings is TypeScript. Then it give us the package JSON and everything. It came with dependencies already, some dependencies and everything. Even the some test is integrated already, right? It has test this is what I call integration test, right? So this is the folder here basically. So let's install some, because I don't think that installation is totally successful. So let's oh okay, I don't know the bash process that is executing here. Okay, so let's do npm install so that oh let me remove the node module. Is this serious? Okay. All right, I don't know why my system is lagging. Let me have a look. So guys, let's discuss this thing. So controllers simply are just for routing, right? So how do you use it? It just has to be used for routing. Then this is an example of a controller, right? This is a controller, and when you create a class, you create a class. This is, this is basically what we're doing in ExpressJS. Our controllers and services are basically classes. We use classes to define them, right? So this is what we're doing. So this is our controller. Then we use this decorator here, the controller decorator, to indicate now NestJS. We know that this class is a controller class. Then you give it a name. Now when you what this means is that this cat here, what it means is that um you can use it's just like this now, cards. This is the API to be, right? You can now use something like this, or in our example, you can, when you do something like that, you can going to do like cards this way, right? So basically that is it. um is you define the route for the card, for the controller, and you here, this is the get method, right? This is the method this is the get method. Use this decorator to define the method, the route method. Then if it's post, you use post, right? So basically it's very straightforward, right? Then that's provide controllers. Then we'll go to providers. Providers are like services. Providers are injectable classes, right? They are classes that you can inject, and an example of provider is a service, right? Those are our service class. They are providers, right? Those service class we wrote, our services are providers. Then there are folders here. If I go back to this our project, here, right? The providers we have here, like this Kafka provider and this Redis provider, they are providers, mainly providers. Then the services we have here, they are special kind of providers. This is our service class. They are providers, right? They are providers. You can inject them into a class, to another class. They are providers, and they are special kind of providers, right? So basically that's about providers. They are injectable classes that you can. Well, let me shut down this. Shut down this app so that we can run. Okay, okay. Let me now stop the app from running. So guys, these are providers, right? Providers are core concepts in NestJS. Many of the basic Nest classes, such as services, repositories, factories, and helpers, can be treated as providers. The key idea behind provider is that it can be injected as a dependency, right? So we're going to see what actually this sentence means. So providers can be injected into classes as dependencies, right? So let's see an example. So service, let's create a service. So this is an example of a service here. So when you create a class, you define a class to make it a service, right? To make it a provider, you use this decorator here, injectable. So you can create any class anywhere and you apply this injectable. Now, what does this injectable mean? One of the key things of one of the importance of NestJS is that it helps to handle dependency injection, right? I'm going to, okay, let's scroll down. We're going to understand what dependency injection mean. So let's look down here. So these are examples of services, right? Now if you look at this class, this controller, cat controller here, this is its it takes cat service in it's in constructor, right? Yeah, it takes it as constructor. Now, dependency injection. What is dependency injection? Like, let's go back to our ExpressJS example here. If we go to our routes, here, you guys will see that we are declaring and injecting our dependencies by ourselves. This is actually dependency injection here, because the user controller here depends or takes user service it takes user service as a dependency in its constructor, right? Because it does that, so we need to inject the dependency when we are creating when we are creating an instance of the user controller, right? We need to take user service and give users controller when we want to initialize user controller, right? The same thing here also for user service. When we want to initialize or create an instance of user service, we need to give it the database pool connection, right, as a dependency. So we are managing our dependency here, right? We are managing our dependencies here. Basically the same thing for the pools. If we come to the route here, we are managing our dependencies here, right? All the dependencies of the classes we create, we are managing them by ourselves. But in NestJS, you're not going to do this. You're not going to be initializing these things, right, by yourself. NestJS will help you handle the dependency injection, right? We are injecting our dependencies by ourselves, right? But NestJS will help you to do this. In NestJS, in NestJS, yeah, you won't be doing this. NestJS will help you to handle the dependency, right? And you tell NestJS the kind of when you take a dependency, when you create a class and you give it this injectable here, you are telling the NestJS that this class is a dependency class. Then you can inject it into other class for as providers or dependencies, right? So that's what it means. It helps you to manage your dependency injection in your project. So that's the major difference. So here won't be in NestJS won't be doing all this. We won't be doing all this. NestJS will handle it for us. But we will create our class. We'll give our class. Let me go back and show us the example here. You create your class this way. This is normal way. Yeah, you create your class the way, like if you need a dependency for your class, you inject it into the constructor. You do that this way. Exactly the same way in ExpressJS, in NestJS. Sorry, do that. But the actual injection will be handled by NestJS for you, right? That's basically about providers and dependency injection. Then the next item here is the module. Guys, you guys are familiar with this concept too, because we discussed it. We structure our projects in modular architecture here, so you understand what we mean here in our projects. These are modules because I created a folder and I called it modules. They represent different features of our application, right? So here, let's go and let's look at what module is in NestJS. A module is a class that is annotated with the module decorator, right? This decorator provides metadata that Nest uses to organize and manage the application structure efficiently, right? So every Nest application has at least one module, the root module, which serves as the starting point for Nest to build application graph. So we'll go to our this structure here. If you see here, when we created this project, we just opened the project, and Nest created these items for us. So this app structure here is the root of everything here, of our application. So the module here is the root module of the whole application. So every NestJS application must have the app module, right? So basically, what does modules do? They are just like they organize, they take controllers and services and every other thing that you are creating for a feature, and organize them into modules, just like the way we have in our ExpressJS here. We just created the folder. Here we are just grouping everything by folder, right? We're grouping everything by folder here for our modules. But in ExpressJS, in NestJS, you create, after creating your service, your controller and everything, you create a module. Then you structure, you create a class module, then you organize everything, all your service and controller that module we use inside that module class, right? So guys, this is very straightforward, and because of the experience we have coming with, it's not going to be a big issue for us. So here, our application is installing, but before that, um, let's create a CRUD, a CRUD operation on user, see what we can do with that. Then okay, so now these are the items that the module decorator takes, right? So it says the module decorator takes a single object with properties that describe the module, right? If we go back to the code, this is the module decorator. It takes a single object, right? Let me see. Okay, it's charging, right? So it takes a single object, and these are the items that the properties of the object. You have the imports, the controllers, and the providers, right? So the controllers takes an array of whatever controller I want to use in the module. Then providers take the services or any provider class. Then the import, you can import many things here. We're going to discuss. Let's see what they are saying here. Yeah, providers. The providers array. It means the providers that will be instantiated by the next injector, and that may be shared at least across this module, right? So any item here you give as provider, it will be instantiated, like they will create an instance of it, like here, like in our route here. Where is our Here we are creating instance of everything by ourselves here, but NestJS will manage this for you. So any class you put here, if you put any class here as provider, it will be they will create the instance for you. NestJS will create the instance for you, any class you put here when they are initializing the application. So, and you can be able to use that class in the module, anything in that module. Then controllers, the set of controllers defined in this module which have to be instantiated also. So that's that. Imports, the list of imported modules that exports the providers which are required in this module. So if I want to use another module, maybe I want to use comment module inside post module, right? I want to use maybe I want to use the service, the post, the comment service, or I want to use the comment service, for example. If I import the module, the comment module here, right inside, if I import the comment module inside the post module, it's going to create we're going to create I'll be able to use the comment service inside the module. So let's just do something here. No, not here. Call this modules. So basically, guys, I want to structure everything the way we did in our Express. Sorry guys, let me confirm something. Okay, so I don't know why this thing is taking too much time to load. Then let me create a folder. Let's call it config. Alright, so let's create a module, user module. Okay, so let me just create another module here. It doesn't. Okay, so yeah. Now we can, to create services, to create our service, our controllers, and the rest, we can use command. You can use command like if I want to create, a module, right? A module. If I want to create module, service, and controller at the same time, right? I'm going to use a command. I don't know why my terminal is. No, no, everything is just lagging here. This mode is not supported. Right, this thing is just taking time. Oh boy, I don't know why my items are just lagging here. Hello guys, you can still see my screen, right? Oh, okay, still installing. Let me close this and open a new one. Let me see if I've stopped all my. Close my database. Guys, when it's in 5 minutes time, we'll go on a break. 15 minutes break. We'll just come back. Then continue. I don't know why, so that I'll be able to see why my system is lagging. Just trying to shut down. Okay, so guys, this is it. I've created. I'm creating modules for my applications now. Then, so now let's just discuss. Now let's continue. Then in the Express in NestJS we also have middleware. Yeah, let's in our ExpressJS we also discuss about middleware. Like if we go back to our Express, what is middleware? Where do we discuss middleware? This is it. This is where we discuss middleware. If I come to the authentication and go to routes, right? Yeah. If I come here, so basically these are middlewares. This login validator, login validate, they are middlewares because they are being executed in between the route and the route handler, right? This is the route handler for this particular route, and these are middlewares. Just like the name, they stay in the middle between the request and response cycle, right? So this is where the request comes in, and this is the handler that handles it and send back a response. So the middleware stays between the request and response cycle, right? That's middleware. These are validator middleware. They validate the input coming in from the request, coming into the request, right? So if we check, let's check our post also, our post endpoints. You see here, this is middleware. This auth middleware is a middleware because it stays in the middle between the request and response cycle, right? And this is a middleware to validate if the user is authenticated, because this is a protected route, right? So these are middlewares. In NestJS we have that also. So middleware is a function which is called right before the route handler, right? Basically, this is example, perfect example, right? This is route handler, right? These functions are called before this route handler, right? So that's a perfect example, a definition, right? So middleware functions have access to the request and response objects, exactly, and the next middleware function in the application's request response cycle, exactly. So middlewares must call nests. They have access to nest the request and response and nest. Let's confirm that with this alt middleware here that we have. Exactly, this is it. It has access to request, response, and the next middleware function, right? So when it's executing, you can have access to the requests, as you can you can try to fetch what is coming into the request. Then if you check the request and you see that maybe something you're expecting is not valid, you don't like it, you can use the response here to end the response cycle, to end the request cycle. That's basically what we're doing here in this alt middleware. When the request comes in, we check the request, we try to get the headers and get authorization. We're trying to extract the token that we need to validate the request. Then if we check the token, if there's no token here, we send a response. We reject the request, we send the response immediately, right? So the request will not get to the request. Now if we send the response immediately, the request will not get to the request handler here, because we have already sent back the response, right? That's what we're doing here. If there's no token, we just send back the response that there's no token. But if there's a token, we try to validate and everything. If everything here, we try to run this function. If everything here is valid, we call next, right? Next, we now go to, if you call next now, right, what will happen is that the function, the execution will now move from here to the next item here, which is this creates post validator. So that next, what it does is that it moves the flow from alt middleware to create post validator next. That's the next thing there. So it's very intuitive. But if there's an issue, we just send back a response. So that's a middleware definition basically. So that's the same thing here that applies. If you look at the diagram, this client side HTTP request middleware, right? Then you see the routes handler, right? That's basically the whole flow. Nest middlewares are by default equivalent to Express middleware, right? So that's middleware. We're going to see how we use them in our applications. Then we have exceptions, filters. This one is we're going to see it though, but it's mainly for. Next comes with a built-in exception layers, which is responsible for processing all unhandled exceptions across an application. So if you here, let's come to our application here. So you have a look here. We have this. Yeah. So we have this handler here. Yeah. Look at this error handler, right? This error handler. So why I put it, this error handler will always be last here in all the middlewares we're trying to incorporate into our applications. All these we're trying to incorporate all these middlewares into our applications, meaning that when a request is coming, even before they start hitting the routes, right, they have to pass through all these middlewares. These are all middlewares, right? So this error handler middleware has to come down to the last here. It should be the last middleware that request week is going to execute, going to meet, right? So if there's no error, if there's a request that escapes all error handlers, that escapes all what is it called, exceptions, or escape all caches of any process or anything, or any invalidation, this error handler will be the last thing that will cache it. That's why we have to put it at the last part of the whole layer, right? Middleware layers, right? So basically, it's what it does is that it just picks, it comes there, it just catch any error. If you catch any error and it's try to read any information from the error, if there's no information, you just throw 500 status code and give it any message, right? Just random message to tell you that this error is just random. It has to do with the server, right? So basically, another name for this error handler, we can call it exception catcher, like exception filters, right? Because the error is an exception, so it's the error handler is actually filtering the error. It filters every all the errors. If all the errors filters through, it will handle it. It will come to it and it will handle it. So basically, that's what we have in NestJS exception filter. So when you are building your application, you create an exception filter that is going to like be the it handles your request for your errors for you. Anyhow the error comes in, it use it to structure your error and send to the back to the front end. So when go further, when an exception is not handled by your application code, right? Yeah. So like when there's an exception that is not handled by your application code, so that exception has escaped all the application code that you have, right? It is caught by this layer, right? Which then automatically sends an appropriate user friendly response. So basically that's what we are saying here. We're saying our project. So that's that. Pipes. Let's look for guards. Guards are kind of important, right? So I want to skip pipes. A guard is a class annotated with injectable decorator which implements the can activate interface. So a guard, like to me, I see guard like special kind of middleware, right? It's actually in Next.js when we want to implement guards, right? We take the logic here. Let's look at our Express application. Yeah. So if you look at our post here, our post route here, you see this auth middleware here, right? This auth middleware is actually guarding it. The detail of this auth middleware is that it safeguards this post request, because this it we call it it protects or it guards this post request, because this post endpoint is not public, it's protected. So it means that whoever is calling it has to send us some token, has some things, some validation with it. So and what do? We have to, if I remove this auth middleware here, if I remove it, it means that this endpoint will be public, will be exposed, will be public, anybody can call it, right? But if you put the auth middleware in this endpoint, it means it's now guarded, it's now protected, right? That's what guards are in Nest.js. They're like this auth middleware thing I explained. You just create it and put it. What it's doing is that it checks that somebody is probably logged in. It's probably logged in before calling that endpoint. That's what auth middleware does. So the guards is like it checks whether someone has a property before the executor call that endpoint. So you can implement some many logic with guards, like the authentication middleware I showed you. You can implement it with guards. You can also implement some permissions, like you need a user to have some particular permissions before they call that endpoint. So you can use this guards class to implement things like that in your Nest.js applications. Right. So guys, let's just have a breather in the okay, it's 2:06. So let's say we'll come back in 15 minutes time, right? So let's have a quick rest, come back in 15 minutes time, then we'll continue our next lecture. Okay, everything's installed. So when we come back, we'll just start our implementations. All right, guys, please, 15 minutes time. All right, hello guys. Let's continue. So our project is installation is done, is through. So basically we are good. So I'm going to show us like ways to create resources like your module, your controllers, and your service. If I do to create a service, you just do next g service, then you give it a name. Let me just say my service. It's going to create a file. Let's wait. Right. Okay. So he created a folder and created a service for us. So I'm going to delete that. Actually, I don't want to use this method to create. Likewise, the same thing if you want to do create for want to create controller. It's going to create a folder and a file at the same time. Alright, so this is it. He created this my service folder, then he created the controller and the test file and the rest. So I'm going to delete that also. Yeah, okay. So automatically it's import anyone it created import them here. No, I'm not going to create it. So basically why I don't want to use those methods is because I want to structure my projects this way. So if you want to create for create everything module, like want to create module, just do resource here. So it's going to create everything, controller service and the module also. If you want to create module, just put only module, just change the resource name to the resource to module. So here the resource is asking which method do I need GraphQL or microservice or WebSocket. I just need REST API. Just going to create. Would you like? Yeah. So I just created my module here. Created the DTOs and everything, entities, DTOs, controller, service, and the module and the text file. They are text files, and it's installing. Doing some installations here. So I'm going to delete them. They actually not the way I want to structure the projects. So everything is installed. So this is my module. So it created everything, the details and the created the class, the details and the entities and the controllers and the services and their respective tests files. So I'm going to delete. I will come to our app here. We need to Alright, so let's just do simple, just see how it looks like to work with um, NestJS. So basically I've created user module, so I want to create just like we did in our Express projects, controller services. I'm just creating using folders for them, services, DTOs, no, not here, DTOs, DTOs, entities. Okay, then I'll create a file called user.module.ts. Now this is where modules should be in. So that being done, let's Sorry guys. Okay. All right, let's create the service, for example. .ts, we create a class, export class user service. Then let's let NestJS know that this is an injectable class, right? So that's that. Let's also create controller, user controller .ts. Basically, this is just what we did in our ExpressJS class. User controller, then add the controller decorator here. I will give it a path called users. Right, straightforward. Okay, this is all right. So let me use going to prettier here. Single quotes. I like using double quotes. Don't know why. Right. So basically, this is how we structure our project. Right. So let's create entity. Um, user.entity.ts. Let's just create this nitty-gritty items. Then we just now there's something I need us to understand now. There's what we call type ORM. There's what we call ORM um, managers, right? We call them object relational mappings, right? We'll Google, do some googling here. ORMs. Object relational mapping is a programming technique that bridges the gap between object oriented. So basically, is okay. Let me finish the statement. Between objects, ORM is a programming technique that bridges the gap between object-oriented programming languages and relational databases. It allows developers to interact with a database using objects and methods of their chosen programming language rather than writing raw SQL queries. Right. So in our Express project, we use raw SQLs. Like if you check here, we use raw SQLs to write queries and interact with our database. Right. We wrote raw SQL queries here. Right, but I want us in this Express NestJS. Actually, in this NestJS project, we're going to integrate an ORM system, right? So that we won't be writing raw SQL queries, right? And we have various types of ORM packages, right? One of them is type ORM. We have Prisma and the rest. So we're going to use type ORM. And what is type ORM? If we come to type ORM here, it helps us to, all right, come here, you install it and you define entities, right? You define entities of your class of your data module, right? So the entities you're defining is going how you're going to map your application, your data in the database, right? So here, if you see the example here, if you install the type ORM module, imports you create an entity class with it, and you just model how your database is going to be your data is going to be represented in your database. So we're going to use type ORM here in our NestJS. So to do that, I'll just install type ORM, do npm install type ORM. So while that is installing, we just use okay, let's just wait for it to install. Then at the same time, the DTO. Now, the in our Express project here, we our DTOs are here. We just created them and we use them to like to, how will I call it, to mirror the data that's coming into our system and know how to um, validate them. Then here in our NestJS, we're going to incorporate validators, and we're going to incorporate validate our data validation into our DTOs. Here in Express, here we do not there's no way to incorporate we do not incorporate data validation into our DTO, right? But in NestJS, we're going to incorporate our data validation into our DTO, and we're going to use a class called class validator, right? We're going to use a package called class validator and incorporate it to our data validation. So, but we're going to use this class validator package. We're going to incorporate it into our DTO, right? So let me just create a DTO class here, call it user DTO. So basically just everything we did in our express in our express project, in our express application. So it's what we let me use email first. Then name, right? So okay, our constructor is here, detail is here, entity here. We're going to do the mapping now. While our type ORM is installing, then this is our service. We haven't created any items on them. Then let's create our module, right? We just create a class, call it class user module. Let me see how I'll be creating this. Okay, user module, and we call the decorator. Don't forget the decorator. Right, it takes an object, and we'll give it controller array and providers array, right? So here we're going to, for the controller, we're going to import the user controller and put it here, because we're going to, it's part of the module. Then here we're going to call the user service and we put it here. So we have created a controller and a service, user service and user controller. We have created our user module and we wired them together here. So we need to take this user module now and wire it into our project, right? And we'll come, how do we do that? We come to app module, because this is where app module is where everything, I need to incorporate everything, right? So here we just call user module, then we'll just put it here, right? With this now, our app now recognizes our user module that we just created, right? So So let's wait. Okay, everything is installed now. The entity is installed. So let's run our application and see if if our setup is correct or not. All right, to do that, just call npm start dev. Like we're running this command to start the development um, environment. So guys, I hope I'm sharing my screen. Show what I'm sharing. Okay, good. So our application is trying to start up. It's compiling. Oh, I didn't save this. Save this. So let's see. It's compiling. So basically, the important thing here that I did is just create service, create controller, um, import everything into the module, because you must import them if you want to use if you want to just like to make them know, make NestJS know that they are the same. That's what you should instantiate for that module. Then after doing that, you come to the app module, you import the user module, right? So any other module we're going to be creating, like the if we create the post module, we after creating it, we need to bring it here and import it. We're going to import it, put it beside the user module, and some other modules we're going to be working on also. So that is that. Then when this is done, I'll go to the entity, populate the entity, create the entity, then go to the DTO, create the DTO, finalize the DTO. Then I will create a config for the database. I will create a module also for the database so that we'll be able to connect to the database and start testing, create some APIs and start working on them. Then when that is done, we'll understand. I just want us to understand how NestJS is structured, the structure works. Then when that is done, we can now go into try implementing our project in NestJS. Yeah, Cliff, I can hear you.
Yeah, actually, just about the structure, I'm seeing. Can you just briefly like explain the controllers? There's the controllers they created, and there is the app.controller.spec.typescript. The two controllers there. Can you just explain what they do?
Yeah, which controller? Here, here,
No, the on the file side, the file section,
file section.
on the left side, yeah.
Okay,
The okay, there's the TypeScript with orange, the controller that one,
okay,
and
okay, okay.
yeah,
These
and
are
the other one.
text. These are text test scripts. Tests. If you see here, you can see .spec. These are test.
Yeah.
Yeah, test scripts. If you want to write your test your test unit test and the rest for your application, this is the test we you use. But this is auto generated by NestJS. So I'm not paying attention to it. It's auto generated by NestJS. If you use the command, everything on app, anything on app here is auto generated by Nest when we initialize created our project, right? So this is basically for tests,
Oh,
right? You
okay,
understand?
okay, okay. So they just auto generated. Even the other app controller dot GS.
Yeah, it's auto generated. Yeah, because if I use like I told us, you can use commands, different commands to create your controllers. Yeah, I'm creating everything by myself. I'm creating my controllers by myself. I'm like creating it manually, but you can use you can use NestJS to create those things for you. But if you use Nest will auto generate all these text file for you. Right. So let me give you an example. Let's say I want to create Nest. I want to create a controller. Let me create a service. I call it my service. Right. Look at what Nest is going to do. The command is nest g the what I want to create. This can be service, this can be controller, right? This can be What again? Yeah, module, right? So you can use create module, controller, or service. Then if you want to create everything at once, like do controller, module, service together, you use resource and you give it a name, right? My resource. So if I run enter here now, it's going to create, ask me for, because I'm creating a resource here, it's going to ask me some questions. But if I'm creating a controller or service, it won't ask me some questions, to just generate them for me. And when it's generating, it's going to attach some test scripts here. Okay, this is the question here. It's asking me what I want to create. Is it a resource for REST API, or for GraphQL, or for microservice and the rest? So I'm going with REST API. If I click enter, ask me crude endpoints. If I click yes, so it has created it. This is the folder it created. My resource is different from what we have. It created it in the root directory of the project, in the src directory, I mean. So this is what you created, right? If I expand it, this is everything here. It's created for controller, DTO, entities, controllers, and the rest. And if you check where, you can see the same files here, right? You can see the ones that end with .spec.ts, right? They are tests, unit tests, .spec.ts, right? These are unit tests, right? So if you want to implement unit testing, this is, they already generated it for you, so we can use it to write our unit test. So that we'll do that if we are writing unit tests for our project. But now let's just understand how the whole thing works, right? So I will delete it. Right, so our application is supposed to be running. So our application is running ports. What port? Let's confirm the ports. If we come to main, this is where our application is executed, right? So the this is where it's starting. So it's listening at port 5000. Let's go to localhost ports for 5000. See what we will see. So we got hello world. And where is this hello world coming from? If we come here, hello world is inside the app. So if we go to, this is the hello world that we're getting, right? So it's the default for the application. So our app is running fine and good. Let's delete this thing again. Let me use, all right, let me remove. Okay, so I've deleted it. So I'll come here and remove it. Alright guys, so basically now we are good to go. Our app is running, and let's continue. We have our service. So let's create some methods and call them in our controller. So I will call this get async get users, right? So here I will just return array of, I'll just do this just add another one here. Right, so we created this method here, created the method. Sorry guys, let me create this thing here. I like my code to be properly formatted. Let me copy this. NestJS code. Okay. Oh, I think I need to do is tab is true. Okay, yeah. So this is the, let's go to our controller and use this service, right? So how do we use the service? The same thing, we import it into our constructor, right? The same thing we did um, in our Express app. So the same thing here, right? So this is how we call our services, right? This is how we inject it. So if I do, sorry, let me async get users, right? So now just return dot user service dot get users, right? So this is the controller. This is where I can, now I need to tell Nest what kind of methods, request method this will be. So I'm going to just do, this will be get to import from Nest, and this is it. So here now I've told NestJS that this is going to be it's going to be a next a get request, sorry. So if I come here, if we go back to our request, where we call our made our request. So if I do this slash users, this slash users here is because of this here, right? Slash users. Then if I call it now, if I click enter, we're going to see that array, right? This is it. This is the array here, the Christian, and the names here, these names here, this thing here, that's what you are seeing here, right? So we have properly wired our application, we have wired our service to our controller and our controller to our routes. Now if you can see here, we didn't configure anything about routes. We didn't create a full, like in our Express applications here, in our Express here, we didn't create a, like we have routes here, we didn't create it for the NestJS, right? Because the controllers Nest handles the routing, so we just have to specify the route here. So that is for that. Then what I'll do now is I'm going to integrate. Let's continue with our entity here, since we have our entity package installed. So we're going to create a class, call it user entity. Now we're going to tell type rm that this is an entity class, right? So we're going to start defining the field. First we have id, sorry guys, Right, so we're going to define a class. The ID is going to be string, or let me call it big int. Then sorry, okay, then we want the primary key to be auto generated. Right, so here we're telling type ORM that this class, this item is the primary key, then but it's going to be, and it's going to be auto generated, so it's equivalent to this here. If we go to our SQL query that we use here, if you are creating, yeah, this is, it's equivalent to this here. What we did is equivalent to this. We are making it an integer, then it's auto generated, and it's the primary key. Right, that's what is going to be translated to, because everything we're going to define in our entity class type will help us to define it to convert it to whatever database we're going to be using. Here we will be using a MySQL. Right, so now we are going to have email field. It's going to be string. Now we also have to tell type that is a column. Right, and what's the type here? We're going to use type in MySQL. Here we're going to use varchar. Right, and the length is going to be, let's use 100 for example. Then the name is going to be almost the same. Here we'll use 255. Then this one here is going to be unique. Unique will be true because we want the emails to be unique. Then when this is done, when we are through with this, we want to give this a name, this entity a name. The name is going to store, is going to create a table. This is actually creating a table, right? So the type of table is going to, the name of the table, so we'll just here we'll give it this, I'm sorry, name will be, want it to be, what's the name we're using at the database? Oh yeah, if we go to the schema, sorry, user, so we're going to give it a name of user. I just want it to rhyme with whatever we have, to compare to whatever I have on our database. So user here. Okay, so if we check what other thing, email, bio, password, the rest. Okay, let me just create bio. Okay, let me add, or let me leave it for now. We're going to update that later. Then when this is on, okay, I've created the entity. So let's create our database configuration. So here I'm going to do database.config.ts. right, so let's see how we're going to configure our database. So right, we're going to create a module, right, for our database, and this is how we're going to do it. Create a class, export class database module. So if we do this, we'll be able to export our database into our application, so our application will know to use we know how to use our database. So so basically I'm going to make it create a module, data script that this is a module, right? Then we need to configure it. This is where we do the configuration. So we need to use the imports, because we need to import some of the items, because we are using type ORM now, right? So we're going to use some configurations with type from type ORM. So we're going to be type ORM. I'm using the type ORM. Okay, I'm supposed to install Nest for the Nest configuration for type ORM, because I am using type ORM in Nest. Um, I need to tell create install this package so that type ORM will be we like properly integrate with NestJS. So this is the package I'm trying to install. If we come to this our type ORM ecosystem, I mean NestJS ecosystem on npm package NestJS hyphen. So a lot of packages under type ORM and npm package registry. So if we do type ORM here, yeah, this is it. We'll Google it this way. So this is the package here. So it's just an easier way to integrate with type ORM on NestJS. So guys, the unique thing we are doing here is that we are integrating using type ORM. We don't want to write raw SQL, so we're integrating type ORM to help us connect to database and also help us writing our query. We're going to see the demonstration here, and at the same time we are introducing the module class, and we are using decorators to identify the modules and the rest. And also we are our routes are no we don't define routes separately, we define routes on our controllers. So that's just the thing here. Basically our application is set up. What I'm doing now is that our application is set up, is running. What I'm doing now is that I'm trying to connect the database now. I'm trying to configure the database, right? So to do that, I'm using type ORM. Since I'm using type ORM, I'm using MySQL, right? I need to also install MySQL. Sorry, I think I npm MySQL 2. Don't forget, it's the MySQL 2 application we're installing. So when it is installed, so why has installed here, type ORM. So this is what I was looking for. So this type ORM, this thing here, it's this type ORM module is from the package I just installed. So if I do for root here, async, so this is where we configure. I'll put the whole connection item here, module and the rest. Sorry, let's wait for MySQL to connect. So when we are done with our connection here, we'll just come to the module here and also add the database module, right? So the application will know to integrate it on the system. Okay, so this is it. All right. So let's wait for. All right, our application is fully installed. So we are going to do some. So let me use for roots. So we need to tell the database connection which type of connection database we are using. So we're going to type MySQL, right? Either we installed the MySQL too, but it's still the same thing, MySQL. So we're going to tell it the host. Actually, it's going to be localhost. We haven't saved anything to the environment, so we're not going to use the environmental file. That we report is going to be ports. Our database port is 3306, right? I'm just using direct values. Then the username. Let me get the username from the Express. Okay, blog user. Just copy this. So guys, if we are not able to set up our application, I just want us to understand this Express, how it's configured. Then I will share a fully converted file of our project in NestJS to us, so that we'll be able to use them, know how the flow works. But I just need us to understand how this flow works, right? Then we have the port, the username, password. um, what was that password? Password one. So I just want us to understand how the database connects. Then the database is my blog, right? So yeah, we are connected, right? So I'm going to do now, when we this is our database connection now. What NestJS will do is that when we start our application, run our applications, we need to tell, because the entities we define are mapped to our database, right? So we need to tell this database configuration that, okay, when our application has started and when you have been initialized, when this database module has been initialized, the entities that we have in our project, you need to synchronize it with the database, right? You need to synchronize it with the database or whatever you have. Then when that is done, um, so synchronizing is that, it's either you create if the table, entities represent table. So if the table is not there, create it. If it is there, take what we have and modify what is already there. All right, so I think what I'm going to do now is I'm not going to connect to the same database. I'm going to create another database, right? And we when we create another database, we connect it to this one, so that I don't want whatever entities configuration we're going to have here to override what we have already. So let me create a new database on our local instance. Okay. All right. My blog 2. So we've created my blog 2 on our system here. If I refresh this, so we're going to see my blog 2. This is my blog 2, right? So look at the user used to blog user. Let me use root to connect to this. Then my blog 2. This password, I'm not sure about this root password, right? So there, this is what I was talking about. We have to see if we can synchronize. So come here, say synchronize. Let me make it true. So it will this entity we've created here. If you see on this table, on this database here, this database I just created, we don't have any table. Is it right? Show database. Okay, no. If I come back to the schema here, if I expand here, see there's no table. There's no table to highlight, to drop down table. So no table is created, right? So if I npm is still running. So if I come here, our app is configured, right? So then auto load entities, right? So and then login, because so this now, because of this auto load entities, is going to load the this entity we created, and it's going to create it on our database, right? So let's see, it's starting, it's running. Then when that is created, then we know that we are good. We have commissioned. Yeah, as you can see, it's just run this transaction here, this thing here. So it's created author table and the rest. So if we come here, if we recheck this now, okay, okay, there's no table yet created. Table name, parameter data. All right, okay. Okay, so I'm sorry, it will import this into our application. All right, so come to our user module here. So we need to import like this. All right, properly formatted. Yeah. So let's tell type ORM to use our module for future. So it's just for type ORM to use our entity here. So the entity we created, right, for service for user, right, the entity we created, because we want to use it in this module, so we need to like wire it together just the same way we wired our user controller and user service into our user module. So we need to wire our entity also. So why we by so doing, now our application, if you see here, it's the table now has been created, user entity table has been created. So if we check again, so let's look at the user table here. So if we refresh this, so this is the table here. If we check the columns, these are the column, the ID, email, and name. If we execute the query, so you see that there's nothing there yet. So we have fully connected our application. Now we can use it to start our implementation. So we've created the user service, created the controller, created the entity, and we have wired everything inside. We have connected everything inside our user module. So we can now start. You can now start writing our application to do whatever we want to do. So now let me create let's do this user now that I'm just hard coding. Let me fetch it from the database. Right, so but we don't have anything in the database. We're going to return 0. So but let me just do that for demonstration's sake. So now we need to import our user entity and create a repository for it. So how do we do that? Our constructor user service here, now just like I told us, we are not going to be writing raw SQL, right? Because we already have type ORM. Now we want to use type ORM in our project, so we don't need to be writing our SQL queries just like we wrote in our Express project. Where if I go back to this user service here in our ExpressJS project, this ExpressJS project, if we go to our user service, you see to fetch users, to get users, where is that method? Okay, to get user by ID or by email, we wrote queries here. We are writing raw SQL, but in type ORM we're not going to do that. In NestJS we're not going to do that. We're going to use type ORM to implement whatever we want to query our database. So how do we do that? So if I come here, I'm going to do private read only. There's what we call user repository. There's what we call repositories in ORMs. So they are like methods that you can use to interact with the database, right? They have this the CRUD method. That's the create, read, update, delete operations methods that you can use to you can use to manipulate your database, right? To implement your database. So we're going to do something similar to that now. So we have I'm going to create a variable called user repository, right? I'm going to import a type here, repository from type ORM here. So this repository now is going to it's a class that's going to have methods that has that full CRUD method of create, read, and delete, update and delete. So we're going to give it a generic type of user entity, right? So basically now we have imported a user repository, and we can be able to use it now to do to implement some of the, okay, let me just do users. this user repository, right? Then these are the methods that we have here automatically define, right? So they are part of this user repository class, right? So I need the one for find, right? So it's going to return everything in the users table, right? Because we are using the user entity. So that's what it's going to do. So if we, okay, there's an error here. Okay, dependency, user service dependency. All right, so let's, dependency resolution is not properly done. So in your user module, let's straight right out, it's gonna be user module repositories, let's put the module imported. So if we come back to our user module, I think it's complaining of our, okay, of our user service. So let's look at where the error is pointing to. The NS can't resolve dependencies of user service. Make sure that the argument is available in the, okay, we have the import here. All right, so yeah, we, now when we are using this here, we need to also help type ORM to, I mean NestJS to properly what will I call it, properly inject the dependency, right? So I'm going to use inject repository class decorator here, which is from next type ORM. Then we'll say it's user, the user entity, give it the user entity class. So with this now, this error will disappear. It will properly inject it, right? Inject the entity we are using. So everything is good. Just executing the SQL. Right. So if we come back to, if we come to our local host here, if we run this, it's going to return empty array. Okay, there's no return value here. Sorry guys, let me come back here and, alright, so let me return. So guys, the aim of this, this whole thing is for you to understand how NestJS is wired, right? Because it's very important. It's kind of, the wiring is more is more advanced than Express. So that's why I'm just taking my time to explain some of these things so that you understand it properly. So if we come back here, right, now empty array, right? So this is it. We have successfully wired, done the wiring. So what I need to do now is to implement the create user endpoints, right? Now this is going to take the user I want to create, and the type is going to be user DTO, like it's going to follow that format for the user DTO. Then when I want to create the new user, I'm going to model it according to the user entity. Then what's the email? User dot email, name, user dot name. It's still needing ID, but ID will be optional. Let me come here and make ID optional, because we are not assigning ID by ourselves. It will be created by our database system. Then when this is done, just call this user repository. You call the create, right? Create new user. Then it's going to, we just creating it. Created user. They will now save it. User repository dot save. I just do right. So it doesn't have. So this is a simple service to create a user, right? Using the user repository. So we just call the we need to initialize, create the new user object that we want to create. Then after doing that, we need to call the create method of the user repository, give it the object of the user. Then when that is done, it will use the entity format and generate the user that we want to create. Then after doing that, will now call the save method to it, which will now save it to the database, right? This is for the service. Then let's wire this method. Now let's call this method in controller, right? So this is, I'll draft a method called create, right? Now it's going to be a post method. So I'll use the post decorator on it. Then takes now it's going to take the body object, right? Because whatever we're sending from the body. So to do that, we use a decorator call. In Express we use requests and response for the controllers, right? But in NestJS we don't do that here. We use body decorator from Nest, right? When you do this, Nest we extract the item, right? And then just should be, yeah, the DTO I created user DTO. Let me call it create user DTO. Create user DTO. This one changed. Right, so when this is received, we'll call the user service method, and the create, then we give it the data to create. Then if everything is successful, we return So guys, this is it. We need to create and get user. Let me go to Postman and just connect. We're still going to use this same directory because it's still the same port. Everything is running. So we just a create user request here. It's not here on the user collection user folder, but we're going to create it. Add request. It's no longer there. Deleted it. All right. So here I'm just going to use HTTP users. Yeah, then I'll come to the body. Change the type to JSON. Email is what we have. Yeah, let me use my email, gmail.com. Name Christian. Okay. So this is it. All right. So if I call the endpoint now, let me see if the app is running. Okay, it's running. So if I call it, yeah, we got okay. True message user created, right? So that is it. Let me create an endpoint to fetch the user I created now. So if I do, let me duplicate this. Okay, actually I'm going to delete this particular ones just for test for us to see what we are doing with NestJS. Alright, so this is to get users. The type is get. So if I call it now, I'm going to return. See, look. So it is the user we created now, Christian. Okay. So if I create another user, John Doe. Let me say John Okeke. Alright, if I create it now, user created, good. If I come here, if I run again, see there are two now, John Okeke. So basically we have our database wired up. You have our applications connected to our database. So if I run this here now, we don't have anything initially, but if I run this query, we're going to see those two entries here that we created. So this is it. Okay, so guys, basically this is how we wire create NestJS applications, and we wire it to how we connect them together. So there's still a lot, like to start modeling it to our project. I think I will do that in my spare time then, because if I say if I should start, wiring, doing it on live here, it's going to take a lot of time, and I don't think the time will be enough for us. So I just hope you guys understand this concept, follow along. I'm going to push this to repo and share the code so that you guys will just have a few look at it then. start where I will share the converted code of our project. Then we can discuss that. That will be a bonus course, right? And for the unit test, Cliff, are you still here?
Yes, I am. I am.
Yeah. So for the unit test, for the test request, right? I don't know. I am thinking maybe we can have a bonus class. So I don't know. This is tomorrow is new month December. I don't know if you guys how available you will be. So you just tell me when it's convenient. You guys may just tell me when it's convenient because after this class, everything will just be out of like not. I won't be. Everything will not be in my control. Because we have exhausted the 6 week we stipulated already. So after today, anything you want to learn, you just tell me the time you'll be available to learn it, like the time that will be okay. That will just make agreement on the time that will just come online and learn learn it. So for the unit testing and the unit testing parts, I don't know when you guys are willing, like when you be ready to for a class on that. So I don't know. Maybe if you guys will just say how you want it, then just if you want to anything you want to say on that, you can speak. Let me know how you want it.
For me, still, I think the evenings are fine. Friday evenings or Friday or Thursday.
Friday or
Yeah,
Thursday.
around, yeah, but in the evening. Maybe I don't know if it will work with your time. Uh,
What
Kenyan time
what
right
what
now
what
it's
what,
five.
what time zone are you? WAT.
Sorry, it's EAT. EAT.
EAT. Okay, East Africa.
Yeah.
Okay, that means
So I
are
think
you how many hours are you away from WAT? Let me see.
it's three or I'm not sure.
Or maybe what I would do is that if our time doesn't rhyme together, right? What I would do is that maybe in my when I have the chance, I will do a recording, share with you. Then you go through it if you want. Or how do you want? Do you want a live class or a recorded class? But for the recorded, I will be available in the group to take questions if you have. But if you want a live session, no problem. We can agree on a good time for us to have the live class. But if you want recorded session, like recorded class, just anyhow you want it.
Yeah, personally, I'd prefer a live class, not a recorded class, so that if I have any questions, I can ask and respond immediately.
Oh, okay, okay, no
But
problem. So, okay, so you are saying
mostly,
Thursday.
I'm free from. Yeah,
Okay, so you are saying Thursday or Friday, right?
yeah, or Saturday. Thursday, Friday, Saturday, I'm good. Or even Sunday afternoon, I'm good.
Okay, so okay, I will look into that. If there's time, I will just I will let you know. I will confirm that in the group.
Also, if you have any questions outside maybe what you are going taking us through is can also reach out.
Yeah, yeah. Of course, you can reach out.
Okay, thank you.
You can reach out. Yeah, you can reach out. So basically, what I intend, like this is the last class for this course, right? What I intend to do with the group is that I like technical discussions, right? I like technical stuff. I like technical stuff, Honestly, I want to learn technical things. I like discussing technical things. So basically, what I would do is that if I have any technical idea or anything technical that we need to discuss, I will just drop it in the group so that we will discuss and learn within ourselves. If I have technical articles I need to share, we'll just I'll just share it in the group, then we'll just discuss and we will learn, share things together. Then, so that's just it. That's the essence of the whole thing. Sorry, I want to ask. I don't know how many years of experience do you guys have, and if you the what are the technologies in programming that you are familiar with before this class? I would like to hear from you guys, like the number of experience you have and the background tools you already know.
So myself, I am a junior. I'm familiar with JavaScript. Currently learning TypeScript introduced me to TypeScript, and I also am comfortable working with Python, but not too much. But I know my way around it. For the database, I am comfortable with MongoDB, and also MySQL a bit, not much, but I can also find my way around it. Yeah, I think I'm like maybe an year. I'd say an year. Yeah, an year. So I still don't have much experience as yourself, but trying to learn as much as possible and try to also do even small projects to implement my understanding. Yeah, yeah. And I'm also, I think I've also tried AWS. I've learned AWS, the fundamentals, the services. I'm a certified cloud practitioner. Yeah,
Okay, that's good.
I'm, I'm learning. I'm learning also GCP. Just trying to learn also. But yeah, that's what I have currently.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Wonderful. It's not easy though. Tech is not easy, but I will encourage you. It helps a lot. It's since you have the mind to, like, you want to learn it. I will say you should learn it. It makes sense, a lot of sense, and the rest. Um, yeah, you're on a good path. So now that you're acquiring JavaScript, you know TypeScript, learning TypeScript, I will advise you just learn any static statically statically typed language like Java or Rust or C++, right? You can just, or C sharp. So just pick those, any one of them, and just familiarize yourself with them. The TypeScript is good, yeah. You can just pick it up, but it's good to
Mm.
learn those statically typed language.
I wanted for TypeScript. I still, I think I've not like really mastered it well to my how I wanted it. So I'm still giving it time. I don't want to rush into technologies because it will confuse me at the end. So just trying to take my time. Yeah, with TypeScript first, and then maybe later now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. The best way to learn a language is to build a project with it. Even if you just know the basic, just build a project, build something with it. Just build some. It will help you. The way you learn, it's going to stress you, right? It's going to stress you because you're trying to solve problems with a language you're not too comfortable with. But trust me, after that process, wow, you appreciate that you did. You appreciate that you did, right? All right. Doing, sorry, doing. Are you there?
Yes, I'm there. I'm here.
Yeah, doing. What's up now?
I'm good.
This your name. I have a classmate in the uni. His name is Doing. So when I initially saw you that first time when you joined the class, I thought I thought it was the that my guy Doing.
What school is that?
Yeah, it's Futu Federal Uni Tech Owerri. What's up now? So, can you share your experience and your tech
Okay.
background? Let's.
In experience, I will consider myself as just like I'm just I'll probably say a beginner because I just have like over 1 year experience in. I've
Okay.
been mostly doing front end development, but
Yeah.
I always wanted to delve into back end. I know back end to an extent, but I want to know more of the these new technologies like this one you introduced us to Docker, Kafka, Redis. And I only knew Node.js, obviously. I only knew Node.js, and you went through it with us. I didn't know much, but I want to learn backend. And another language I love to learn is Python.
Okay.
Because I want to learn smashing.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to study. I want to also study something like do masters in this AI and machine learning. So I like to improve myself in that aspect. That's why I think still this backend will help me a lot. Processing data, processing and managing data and all those stuff.
Okay. That's good. That's good. Since you're already a front end developer, I think you're good. It's just a matter of time to catch up one or two things. So I believe these technologies that I introduced to you guys is going to help. Is going to help. Another thing, guys, please practice them. If you have a project, if you have a project, you can just integrate them even if the owner of the project does not did not ask you to. You can just integrate them. You can just integrate cache, redis cache for some endpoint that's actually they don't actually need, they are not frequently updated. Just put the use redis on the project there, or you just dockerize the application, right? Then if you have an endpoint, you can just create integrate Kafka, right? Just be using them use them in your project, or you can just create a project on your own, just dummy projects. Implement all these technologies I used here. Just implement all these technologies in the dummy project. Even if it did not it doesn't work, just get your hands dirty, right? Believe you me, if you have these technologies with like, you'll be confident with yourself. You'll be even if you don't have many years of experience, you'll be confident that you know how to use these technologies. Even if you don't have that many years of experience, imagine start having like a year plus a year plus experience, and you know all these technologies. Wow, wow. Honestly, recruit you will whoever is trying to recruit you will be very happy to have you, because you are already grounded. You're already grounded in those technologies. So guys, kudos. I trust this will be a beginning to great things for you. Right. Clive, are you here with us?
Yes,
Yeah, Cliff. Sorry, Clive. Cliff, what's up?
yes, I'm fine. Or there's one also called Cliff.
I
Okay.
think you can go ahead and ask later.
Okay. Clive, what's up now? How are you doing?
I'm fine.
Okay. Hope you're enjoying the class. I know
Yes,
I know
did,
it
but
can be boring.
I did late today, so I
Okay.
think it was almost 1 hour. After 1 hour.
Yeah. Okay. Let me stop the recording so that at least the time will not be too much for us. Okay. All right, guys. Today marks the end of our class, but from our group, we may start having one or two bonus classes, right? And we start having projects that will just give ourselves, and we'll just have discussions around ourselves, right? I believe this is the beginning of great things, right? So I'll be there if you have questions, if you have anything you want to learn, even if you have something you want to learn and you want somebody to help teach you, you can let me know. I will help teach you. I can create a course on it. I can create a tutorial on it, we can do a live class on it, right? I'll teach you and everything. It's no big deal for me. I'm doing it because why I'm doing this thing is because everything I learned, all the skill I learned, I didn't pay anybody for it. I learned everything on YouTube. I went on YouTube, I copied, I saw free code. I was just like, there's one course I saw 31 hours. Wow, I was just like, so somebody will teach for free 31 hours. I think it's C plus something. I had to I downloaded it and I used it. When I was starting programming also, this guy Traversing Media was one of the guy that helped me. I went then he was active in in his tutorial. He was one teaching the tutorials, and the guy helped me, his story and everything. So I learned everything for free. So why not? I just decided to do this course for free. I don't want to charge anybody anything. Let me just stitch it and put it there. I know I'm just starting, I know the courses are not perfect. At least I'm just trying my best. But I'll be there if you have any question. You can, ask me. If you need any clarification, you can ask me. Right. So, guys, thank you guys for coming around. If you have any question, please go ahead.
And I'm good. Just saying thank you. Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. You're welcome. So, guys, thank you very much. Have a lovely evening. I will share the code to the project. I will share that like our project after transposing it to converting it to NestJS. I will share it. Then, if you have question, you can ask me. Even if it warrants that we go on live call, no problem. We'll do that, right? So, have a lovely evening, guys. Enjoy your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Christian.
Welcome, guys.